let's move on now to the New England Patriots final free agency review. But before we do that, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and ring the bell to get notified when we create new Patriots content. This is the final series of the free agency additions and departures of the 2023 offseason. And Ryan and I, we are going to be pivoting to previewing the 2023 season, which means a lot more Patriots content coming your way. And if you want to see that and get notified, ring that bell and also subscribe, help out the channel. It's the easiest way to grow our communities. And Ryan, let's get into it here.
Let's do it.
Your New England Patriots had a busy offseason. They had a busy offseason. So a lot of guys left, but then brought a lot of similar pieces in. I think that I think they improved. I don't think they improved. However, with how much better the other teams in the AFC East in particular, but also AFC in general got better and just adding in additional players. I am concerned if they just didn't keep up the pace. Do you have a similar vibe? What's your overall thoughts on the Patriots?
No, that's exactly how I feel, right? Because I still think they're a little behind in the weapons department. You look at the Jets with Garrett Wilson, and then they added Alan Lazard, Mecole Hardman. They still have Corey Davis back there. And then I think you look at the Bills, they have Stephon Diggs, they added Dalton Kincaid. And then even the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And it's like, okay, so you're basically taking a knife to a gunfight in the wide receiver department.
Yeah.
I will say I do think they probably have the best offensive line by a pretty large margin.
Yeah. To be fair, that's not saying much if you look at the other three teams. But yes, they do have by far the best offensive line.
Yeah, I do expect them to have a really solid offensive line this season. Definitely, I think should be top 10 with the addition of Adrian Clem, the offensive line coach. And then I think they have much improved depth this year. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, this team is really interesting to me because the addition of Bill O'Brien, I think, will elevate this floor, the floor of this offense tremendously. So let's just go ahead. Let's get into the.
I think objectively, as we look at the roster here right now, you probably just said the biggest offseason acquisition, and that is the OC Bill O'Brien. Nothing against Juju Smith-Schuster, nothing against Calvin Anderson or Riley Reid for those guys, but bringing Bill O'Brien into this offense, yes, like to your point, I think we agree. If you just look at it on paper, your guys' skill position players just cannot keep up with the skill position players in the AFC East or a lot of the other AFC teams.
Yeah.
But just having Bill O'Brien makes this offense way better.
Like 100%. And then I think you look, Matt Patricia last year was our offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. And it's like what the hell were you thinking? And now they get the best offensive line coach in college football, one of the best offensive line coach in college football, Adrian Clem from Oregon. Then you bring in Bill O'Brien. I think the offensive line, they're going to get much more nuanced coaching, much more in-depth, and they'll be able to actually run schemes, change protections, which they didn't do last year. So, and then I think offensively, what they did in 2022 didn't make any sense to me. They literally the language that was coming out of the locker room was, we're trying to simplify this offense. We're trying to make it easier for us to run plays and whatnot. And I'm like, that's not what you should be doing, because what Mac Jones does well is he processes the crud really, really well. He gets through his reads, right? And he finds the open man. So you need to be running really complex route schemes. You need to be scheming wide receivers open. You cannot be relying on Mac Jones to make a play, right? And I think this offseason, bringing in Bill O'Brien, they are now going to be playing to their strengths, which is going to be a much needed improvement over 2022.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Who was the offensive coordinator again for you guys in Mac Jones' rookie year?
Josh McDaniels.
It was okay. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And it was like Mac Jones came in as a rookie. He was having a really good year. And you're like, okay, they're taking 2 steps forward. Sometimes they take 1 step back. But like in general, though, they're taking 2 steps forward. And you bring in Matt Patricia, and you're right. It's just like it was just 2 steps back the entire season.
Yeah. And it was just really frustrating to watch. But I like the additions that they made. I think bringing in Riley Reif and then Calvin Anderson is good tackle depth, which they didn't have last year. And then looking at the depth chart now, drafting the 3 linemen in the middle rounds makes more sense now than I think it did when it was actually happening. And then I think you throw on top, Kayshon Boutte is a pretty boomer bust pick, but you got him at 187, and that's a really nice addition. And I think Demario Douglas has a clear role in this offense as a rookie, is that Marcus Jones type player. A little bit more of a gadget guy, but he'll definitely get in on, I think, 15 to 20% of the snaps.
Yeah.
But one of the things
well, I was going to say, just to wrap up, especially when it comes to skill position players as well. Like, I look at Kayshon Boutte, and what a pick, I would say, like, for him to snag him there. Because you're right. If he doesn't figure out all of his stuff, then whatever. It costs you a 6th-round pick of the 12 picks that you had here.
Yeah.
But if he can figure this stuff out and be the developmental player and just be the wide receiver that we all know he can be. I mean, he's better than Kendrick Bourne, in my opinion.
So that's what's really interesting, and I think a lot of Patriots fans are talking about this. But I think if Kayshon Boutte doesn't really push Kendrick Bourne for a roster spot this offseason, he'll get the Foxborough flu, end up on IR for a season. Kendrick Bourne will walk, and then insert Kayshon Boutte in 2024. To me, I think that's the route that the Patriots go. But if Kayshon Boutte comes in this offseason and is not quite as good as Kendrick Bourne, but can't really tell the difference, I think Kendrick Bourne is going to be in a rotational role anyways. And so why would you pay him that money when you can offload him for a 4th in 2024 and do that? To me, I think that is there's 2 routes that the Kayshon Boutte pick will go. So I like that. I like that pick a lot. I think it gives them a lot of flexibility and adds some pretty good talent to this wide receiver room. So, but let's move on. Probably what I'm most excited about is this defense. And they were a really good defense last year. I know they might have given up. They might not have performed as well against the elite quarterbacks, but I think I think that's going to change in 2023. And I think they're going to be able to play a much more complex system in 2023 than they were in 2022, because with the cornerbacks that they had, they were kind of stuck with playing off zone, right? Or at the very least off man.
Yeah.
But with Christian Gonzalez, they're going to play press man. They have a really nice array of cornerbacks in terms of size and skill set. And I think they're going to get really creative with their blitz packages. The Keon White pick, to me, is really intriguing, because I think he's definitely going to be in on true pass rushing downs. And man, I think of the athleticism that's on the field with Matt Judon, Josh Uche, and then you have Dietrich Wise, Christian Barmore, and then Keon White. And it's like you have 5 guys that can just absolutely wreck a play on their own, let alone if you can scheme up stunts or if you can scheme up favorable matchups, maybe overloading one side. And then the Marty Mapu pick, the more I get into it, the more I like. And I just think the way he plays bigger than his size, and he's still really athletic for a 220-pound linebacker. So I think that's a really interesting pick there. I think that might showcase a change in philosophy across the Belichick defensive schemes, because they usually go with the Jelani Tavais that are 245 pounds and run a 4.7, right?
Yeah.
So, I just think it's really interesting to watch this defense and the schemes that they're going to run and how it's all going to play out.
Well, and even then looking back at their draft, is they had a clear plan. It's like first 3 picks, we're going to go defensive heavy. There are guys that at each position that they would have gotten, they could have gone corner in so many different ways at 17. Then in their second pick in the second round, a lot of different edge rushers that were similar to Keon White. A lot of people thought Keon White could be a first-round pick. And he just adds that good depth as well. And especially too, and I'm trying to check as well to see, just confirm, but in general, though, on the defensive side of the ball, free agency, they did bring in Chris Board, linebacker from Detroit, but overall, not too many
mostly
major. Well, and that's what not too many major additions in the free agency market from the defensive side.
Yeah,
and to be fair, they didn't need it too much.
they only lost Devin McCourty, who retired. So
absolutely, yeah. So they didn't need it too much, but these first 3 picks solidified an already great defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball for the rest of the draft, and also on throughout free agency, just finding great value at a great price.
Yeah, and I think
value
that,
shopping.
Yeah, I think that kind of, I don't want to say quantifies, but that is the summation of the Patriots offseason and draft process. I just think they got great value, right?
Yeah.
And so now let's move on into what this season would look like, or what a successful season would look like for the New England Patriots. And I'm going to throw this one over to you to start, because I have my opinion, and maybe I'm being a little overzealous, but.
Well, I would just say this, because I know it's funny. Like, we did the Jets video right before this one, and so that should be coming out about the same time as the Patriots one. And for the Jets, it's like Super Bowl or bust. Mm-hmm. For me, if I'm the Patriots, obviously making the playoff is one thing. I think it's going to be tough to win the division, so making the playoff, I think, is crucial. But to be on an even less specific, tangible one, is just get this offense looking competent again. Make them look like a threat. They just look like they just didn't look scary at all last year. Yeah. And a lot of this offensive draft as well was finding those building blocks. And like, that's why you draft the 3 interior offensive linemen, so try and solidify that. Keep Keisha Butte and Mario Douglas in the 6th round. They have opportunities to contribute from day one. Let's see how Tyquan Thornton does, the 2nd round pick from last year. So, let's make those guys a threat. Let's make those guys vulnerable. I know that's probably a lower bar when I'm setting. I guess for a tangible thing, I think if they make the playoffs, that's a good year.
Yeah.
But because we know their defense is going to be good. They didn't really lose too many other people. As you mentioned, they really only lost Devin McCourty.
Yeah. No, and so like for me, I think going into this season, I want to see them be a competitive wild card team, right? The AFC's loaded. If they go 9-8 and miss out on a wild card team, I'm not really going to fault them for that, right? Because the AFC's loaded. The AFC East specifically is loaded. You have all 4 of those teams are going to be really good. And for me, what?
No, sorry, I was just laughing. But it's like AFC East is loaded, and I'm thinking it's like I can legitimately see outside the AFC South, every division in the AFC, all 4 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah,
exactly. That's how deep the AFC is.
Yeah, and then I think you throw on top of that the Patriots. They play the NFC East, which is the best NFC division by a long shot. So it's going to be a really interesting season for them. To me, we need a couple things this season. We need this defense to take the next step, right? And they were really good last year. We need them to be great this season.
Number 1, yeah.
We need an answer on Mac Jones, right? We need to know, is Mac Jones going to be able to lead this team on a deep playoff run, or is he an Andy Dalton type quarterback, right? Right now, I think the needle's a little bit more towards Andy Dalton than contender. But then lastly, this offense needs to get back on track. Even if Mac Jones doesn't look like the future, we need to see something from one of these young receivers, whether it's Tyquan Thornton, Keisha Butte. I'll even throw Juju Smith-Schuster into the mix because he's 26 years old, right? And they just invested $33 million into it. So we need to see something from this offense that gives it hope for the future. And yeah, to me, I think if we can do those 3 things, then this is a successful season for the Patriots. So
yeah,
but
it's weird because it's like obviously every team wants to go win the Super Bowl, but it's like putting context into everything. Like the Jets are going all in right now with Aaron Rodgers. They're the 39-year-old quarterback. While the Patriots are like, let's just improve from last year. Let's just, if we make the playoff, that's great. Like we obviously want the playoffs, but let's just look competent at least.
Well, and like I think the Patriots got lucky in a couple games, but like they had a tough schedule last year. And I think you look at the improvements that they made, and it's like they should definitely be better. I just don't know if it's going to translate to wins on the actual stat sheet because they have an even tougher schedule this year. So that'll be really interesting to see. But let's go ahead and wrap up the Patriots offseason recap there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on your favorite Patriots offseason edition. Is it Bill O'Brien? Is it Kayshon Boutte, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Gesicki? Let us know down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.